Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming to join my session. So I'm going to go straight to give you a live demo to see how the backup for GKE works. My name is Yongkang. As you can see from the screen, I love Google Cloud. I love Kubernetes. I am actually the first cube astronaut globally. I've completed all 5 Kubernetes certifications before anyone else. So happy to be here. As you can see from the screen, I also love to help the community. So I built the most active KSUG Kubernetes user group. Globally, we have 20,000 members. So feel free to follow me by any one of the links listed here. Let's get started. First of all, why backup for GKE? So in case you are not aware, Google is the first cloud provided the first-party Kubernetes native backup tools. Not to mention, it's free to use. You only need to pay for what the storage consumed. And you can use backup for GKE to migrate workloads across different GKE versions. And Google is the first to support autopilot cluster, obviously. Yeah, it was created by Google. So before someone else can start support autopilot cluster, Google is the first. So before I jump into the live demo, just to highlight the architecture. As you can see from the screen, there are 2 major components here. So backup for GKE services, basically just the Google Cloud API, which you need to enable it first, based on your project. So very importantly, it's based on your project. So that also becomes one of the limitations. So the backup for GKE service doesn't support you to do the backup restore across different projects. I believe that's the only restriction right now. And the second component, it's called GKE, a backup for GKE agent, which needs to be installed or enabled on every GKE cluster, which you need to use the backup for GKE services. Okay, so how to enable the backup for GKE? Literally just 3 basic steps. So we already talked about the first step. You need to enable the backup for GKE API from your project. And secondly, you need to enable or install the backup for GKE agent from all of your GKE clusters. So the best way to enable this is when you create the cluster, you can have the add-on backup and restore add-on enabled. In that way, after your cluster created, you have the backup for GKE agent already pre-installed. Alternatively, if you create the GKE cluster without the agent installed, you can still enable the backup for GKE agent, but just bear in mind it requires about 40 minutes to enable the service, the agent. And the third last step is once you enable the GKE API, you have the backup for GKE agent installed. You can start to create a backup plan. You can start to create a restore plan before you can restore any workloads. Let's see how it works. So I'm going to go to the console to show you how the backup and restore works. So as you can see from the screen, I'm in the Cloud shell. So I got 2 tabs. One tab, we got one cluster 1.31, and I have the PostgreSQL database installed. I'm going to do the backup from this particular cluster. And then I will delete this namespace, and I will do the in-place restore of this particular application. And my second cluster, also 1.31, but I don't have the PostgreSQL database here. What I'm going to do, the second restore is I restore from the first cluster backup to the second cluster. Basically, you think about it, it could be one-time migration, or maybe you just want to keep in sync based on the schedule. Okay, let me jump to the Cloud console. Yes, similarly on the Kubernetes engine, you can see I got two clusters here. Yeah, both one node. Let's scroll down a little bit. You can see the backup for GKE tab. And from here, you can see under, yeah, there are four tabs: backup plans, restore plans, backups, and restores. So two of my cluster listed here, but I don't have a backup plans yet. So if I scroll down to the right hand, yeah, I got a 1810, that's one cluster, 366, another cluster. I can click a backup plane to create a backup plane. So you can decide to choose where to store your backups. It can be any Google Cloud storage locations, okay? So I'm going to leave it as a default for now. And for the backup schedule, you do have two options, either Smart Schedule or maybe Chrome Schedule. I'm going to leave it as a Smart Schedule, but I want to make it more often. I want to do the backup every 1 hour. And then you can set the retentions. Yeah, for the demo purpose, I just leave it delete backups after 7 days. And from the advanced options, you do have the option to select what do you want to backup. By default, it's an entire cluster, but there is no point to backup the systems stuff. Yes. So in that case, what I really care is backup my Yong PostgreSQL database. I select this namespace. And the rest I can leave it as a default. So now I'm going to create the backup plan. So once you create the backup plan, and you can see the backup plan created. And shortly from the last backup time column, you should be able to see the backup jobs automatically kicked off. Okay, so while we're waiting, let me show you the restore plan. So the backup plan is more about you decide what do you want to back them up, the entire cluster, or maybe just select the namespace. And you decide how often you want to do the backup, and plus how long you want to keep the backup. The restore plan is how do you want to recover in case something happen. So I'm going to create a restore plan, but let's check the backup status first. Yeah, as you can see, the backup has been kicked off. So you can see in progress right now. So I'm going to go ahead to create a restore plan. The restore plan is based on your backup plan, okay? So basically, from that backup, I want to do the restore. So I'm going to give a name, say, in place restore plan. Okay. And I choose the corresponding backup plan. That's the one I just created. And now you can decide, yeah, it's a restore plan. You can decide to restore to which target cluster. So my first back restore plan, I will restore to the original cluster 810. And once I select it, I can click next. There are some advanced options you can choose. Do you want to restore all namespace resource? No, all I care is Yong-PostgreSQL. And you can choose to override or mode replace destructive. So basically it will take down your existing containers, destroy existing containers, and then restore from the backup first. So yeah, there are some other advanced options. I'm not going to touch it for now. And you can decide to say, how do you want to choose the cluster scope of the resources? I leave it as a default. And click next. You can define the restore order. If you have a multiple resources you want to, it might have the dependency. You can define the order. I'm not going to do anything right now. And you can also add the transformation rules. I will give you two examples shortly. So for example, part of the restore, you might want to transform the storage class from one to the other. You might want to change the namespace. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead to create the backup plan. So that's the first restore plan. Sorry, it's restore plan. So it will do the in-place restore back to the original cluster. And now I'm going to create another restore plan. Let's say restore to another cluster restore plan. Okay, so I use the same backup plan. And in my target cluster, I choose the second cluster, 366. Okay, we already verified it. In my second cluster, I don't have the Yong PostgreSQL database. So now click next. I'm not going to do anything else. Just select the namespace, do the restore PostgreSQL. And yeah, I can leave the mode destructive on and click next. Leave it as all as a default. I don't define any order. I'm not going to add transformation rules either. Create plan. So I already created one backup plan. I got a two restore plan. One is restore to original namespace in the same cluster. And the second restore is to another cluster. And restore, basically think about it, you can do the migration from one cluster to the other cluster. So let's check the backup jobs. So yeah, looks like the backup job completed successfully. If you click the size here, you can see what exactly backed up. You can see configure backup size 570K, and you got a volume backup size about a 5 megabytes. That was from the source PVC, support the PostgreSQL database. So now we can set up a restore job. The first restore job, we're going to restore to the original namespace. Yeah, I might just keep the original namespace on. I'm not going to delete that. So if I do the get port to watch the status, you will see if you do the in place restore, we have the option selected to mode replace. It will terminate the existing port and then do the restore from the storage. Let's kick off the restore now. So I choose the restore plan. That's in place restore plan. So let's give a name for the restore, in place restore. And yeah, there are some advanced options. Yeah, you can enable fine granular restore. You can add the inclusion filters or exclusion filters. I'm not going to do anything now. Click restore. And shortly after you click the restore from the terminal, from the Cloud Shell, you will say, it will terminate my existing ports, the PostgreSQL database ports, and then started to restore from my backup storage. In this case, by default, it will be using Google Cloud storage. It only take about a few seconds. Yeah, you can see. First of all, it terminated the existing ports containers, and then once it completed, it started to bring the new, restore containers. You can see, first of all, container creating, and then becomes running. And after pass the readiness check, it will becomes 1/1 from the ready column. Okay, while we are talking, yeah, it took how long? Yeah, 22 seconds. It has been restored. Okay, that completes the first restore option. Yeah, you can see from the console, 27 seconds, the restore job will succeed. So now let me show you the second restore. Yeah, as you can see from this second cluster, we don't have the PostgreSQL namespace at all. Let's watch the port status. Before I'm going to kick off the restore. Now I'm going to do another restore job. Go back to the backups tab, move to the right-hand side, set up another restore job. I'm going to select a different restore plan. I want to restore to another cluster. And the restore plan is to another restore job, to another cluster restore. And again, you can choose the advanced options to enable the granular restore. I'm not going to do anything, just click restore. And from Cloud Shell, if you keep watching here, shortly within few seconds, you can see the namespace created. And then actually the port is already pending right now. And shortly you will see container creating and then becomes running and ready. Cool. So easy, right? So I only use the two of the example. So how to do the in-place restore, how to do the restore to a separate cluster. It can be from a different region, can be anywhere, but one, remember the one restriction, it has to be within the same project. Okay, so let's verify the status. Yeah, while we are talking. So the restore job has been completed successfully. And from the terminal, you can see the container creating, and shortly it will becomes running and pass the readiness check. It will come back as a ready, fully ready, 1/1. Yes, it's all good. So if I come back to the slide deck here, so we already did the backup plans. We created two restore plans, and we did the two restore jobs. One is in-place restore to the original namespace in the same cluster. The second restore is restore to a different cluster, still keep the same namespace. But you can also, part of your restore, to transform the storage class or change the namespace. I give you two examples here. So you can create additional rules to change the namespace. So another example is you can change the storage class. Maybe you want to change from a standard RWO to premium RWO. Yeah, I can leave it to you guys to try. Just to give you a few reference links. If you want to learn a little bit more, I do have a YouTube channel talking about a lot of the I have a lot of videos about the GKE cluster, even how to create a cluster from a web console. 5 minutes, you can create a GKE cluster. How to automate a GKE cluster. And remember, we talk about the GKE backup for GKE limitation. It doesn't support multi across different projects. You can use Valero, that's the open source backup tool, to restore across different projects. I also have the video about Valero backup for GKE. If you want to secure the containers, I know Google also have their own runtime security tools, but in this case, I was using the open source tool KubeArmor to I created a demo how to enable container runtime security using KubeArmor. Also including a few reference useful links. So you can see the official backup from GKE documentation page and my GitHub repository. That's the my source code to automate the GKE cluster. How to automate the Valero backup. How to automate the KubeArmor security. So the bottom of the screen, you can see if you haven't joined the Cassandra most active Kubernetes user group, 20,000 members, you should join us. And I also created the KSDM, that's the most active Kubernetes discussion group. We got 14,000 members also. Yeah, join us. Before I finish my session, I really want to spend just 1 minute to talk about the KubeCon program. Yeah, I mentioned earlier. I'm the first one globally, and my photo, this is my photo, has been featured by CNCF from the to promote this KubeCon program. Yeah, scan the QR code, you can follow our LinkedIn page. By the way, the LinkedIn page, KubeCon LinkedIn page, is created and managed by me. Okay, please support our community. Thank you so much. I hope it is useful to you all. Thank you.